Welcome to the Get Fit Guys, quick and dirty tips to slim down and shape up. My name is Ben Greenfield. I'm the Get Fit Guy, and in today's episode, which is part of a two-part series, you're going to learn exactly how to heal your low back pain completely naturally. Hop, 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 oomph. As soon as the muscle on the right side of my low back seized up and sent me into teeth-gritting pain, I knew that my simple morning workout of practicing jump rope double unders had suddenly resulted in a debilitating injury. And this was a couple months ago. Low back strain, sprain, spasm, pull, whatever you want to call it. It hurt like heck, and within 20 minutes, I could barely stand. Now, despite back injuries like this sticking with lots of people for months, years, or even a frustrating entire life of dealing with nagging aches in the spine and the hips and elsewhere, I've personally gotten myself back into action and fully healed within a matter of weeks. So how did I heal a serious low back injury so fast? I'm going to tell you how, and to give you the best exercises and workouts, treatments, gear, supplements, books, and resources for healing your own low back pain without surgery or meds. So let's start here. Best exercises and workouts. Well, contrary to popular belief, you don't have to lay with your feet up on the couch on a heating pad when you've injured your low back. Movement will not only increase blood flow and lymph flow to allow your low back to heal faster, but it will also keep you burning fat, maintaining muscle, and avoiding going slightly insane from being a complete sedentary slob as your low back heals. So, in addition to the article that I'm going to give you in the show notes to this episode, and you just go to quickanddirtytips.com and look for this episode number 330, what are my favorite exercises and workouts for low back pain? Okay, here we go. First is ELDOA, E-L-D-O-A training. That stands for, prepare yourself, étirements longitudinaux avec des coaptations osteoarticulaires. Oh my gosh, that's French. Longitudinal osteoarticular decoaptation of the spine is English. Anyways, it's a form of deep fascial stretching that elongates the space between the discs of the low back and decompresses your spine, using nothing but your own body weight and a few simple stretches. So I recorded a whole podcast with my own personal ELDOA instructor who showed me all these moves, and I'll link to that in the show notes. Again, episode 330 at quickanddirtytips.com. But the videos that you specifically should do, in my opinion, and I did these once per day for 60 seconds each, that's it, was T6, T7, T8, T9, and L5, S1. I'm going to link to each of those videos in the show notes. Now, in addition to daily ELDOA stretching, I also recommend you do something called Core Foundation from a book called True to Form, written by Dr. Eric Goodman, who I interviewed on my podcast and who I've written an article on about this whole foundation training stuff, which decompresses your spine, turns on your butt, and that's very important for eliminating low back pain and keeping it from happening again. So I did the exercises, the Core Foundation exercises, straight from the book for a total about 10 minutes every single morning. That's it. And then finally, avoid the two worst positions for your low back, sitting for long periods of time or, surprisingly, standing for long periods of time. Both can compress your spine or cause your spine muscles to spasm and lock up, especially when they're injured. So instead of sitting, adopt a lunging or kneeling position. And if you need to sit, for example, in an airplane or a car, then tuck a lumbar support pad or towel or blanket or pillow below your low back. Now, if you have a standing workstation, remove pressure from your spine and your discs by standing with one foot elevated on a raised platform and frequently changing positions. I'm going to put a video in the show notes where I demonstrate my own standing workstation setup in my office that lets me move in a variety of back pain relieving positions during the day at work. Now, let's move on to the treatments that I actually did for low back pain, because rather than rushing out to see a back surgeon who may prescribe back surgery that you don't actually need, I'd recommend you first consider the following, each of which I personally did. First, a chiropractic or an osteopathic adjustment. Now, often a low back injury results in ribs, hips, vertebrae, or other joints that are just out of place. And an adjustment can be something as simple as popping these back into place. Now, to learn more about how these actually work, you can listen to an interview I conducted with my own personal chiropractic physician. Now, I had just 3 adjustments over the course of my entire 4-week healing period. Next is deep tissue work. Now, foam rolling and other tools like lacrosse balls, tennis balls, and the type of apparatus described in the book, Becoming a Supple Leopard, should be used not just on the area of pain around the low back, but just as importantly on the lower front of your body, places like your psoas and your hip flexors. By rolling and kneading and massaging these areas along with your back, like your rector spinae, your glute medius, and what's called the quadratus lumborum in the low back area, you remove a ton of pressure from your lower back. So remember, deep tissue therapy on the front of the body is just as important as working on the back of your body. Even if the back of your body is the only part that hurts, once you free up the muscles on the front of your body, you'll find you can often move far more pain-free in the back. Now, for the first 2 to 4 weeks of your injury, keep moving, but only with non-weight-bearing exercise. So you're going to be doing the LDOA and the core foundation exercises I already mentioned, and the deep tissue work, but you can keep moving too with things like swimming, elliptical, cycling, easy walking with deep nasal breathing or breath holds, super slow machine exercising, and light upper and lower body elastic band or cable work. Resist the urge to do heavy weight training and resist the stress that you'll somehow lose muscle, because light, high repetition exercises can be just as effective as heavy, low rep exercise at maintaining or even building muscle. Now, when it comes to maintaining muscle, frequent use of an infrared sauna can not only keep blood flowing and heal injuries even faster due to the release of growth hormone and other healing proteins and factors, but it can also help with maintaining muscle due to the expression of something called heat shock protein. Now, just be careful with any cold thermogenesis or cold plunges afterwards so that you don't activate your fight and flight sympathetic nervous system, which can throw your low back into a spasm once you're all relaxed. And then yoga. Yoga is one of my favorite low back healing workouts. And during the course of my healing, I did a 30-minute yoga workout 3 times a week. And the specific stretches that I included, sprinkled in throughout the day, that I found to be extremely helpful for the low back included 1, the scorpion stretch. I'll put a video to it in the show notes for this episode over at quickanddirtytips.com. Look for episode 330. Next, any lunging, lying, or kneeling hip flexor or hip opener exercises. Next, the kneeling back pose. I like one called the pigeon and the sphinx, and I'll put pictures of those in the show notes. Now, yoga is a great way of fighting stress, but choose your yoga wisely because some types of yoga can be stressful, like power yoga moves and very intense stretches that should be avoided until your back is pain-free. If you take a class or you use a yoga video, Hatha yoga is the one I like for the back because it promotes physical relaxation by decreasing activity of the sympathetic nervous system, which decreases cortisol, lowers heart rate, and increases your breath volume. And speaking of breath, the final thing that I recommend in this episode is breath work. To lower cortisol and relax your back, you have to monitor your breathing and make sure you're breathing properly. Now, to learn to breathe in a way that de-stresses your body, check out Balesa Vranich's recently released book called Breathe, or listen to my podcast interview with her, which I'll put in the show notes. So now that you have the best exercises, workouts, and treatments for natural healing a low back injury, in the next episode, I'm going to give you the best gear, the best supplements, and the best books and resources you should get your hands on for healing your low back pain. But in the meantime, if you have more questions or comments or feedback about how to heal your low back pain naturally, then you can join the conversation over at facebook.com/getfitguy. That's facebook.com/getfitguy. And until next time, I'm Ben Greenfield, the Get Fit Guy, asking you, what are you waiting for? Go get fit.